I can't believe you would do this to me, Damien. At my father's funeral, of all places. My voice trembles with rage and disbelief as I confront my husband, his shirt hastily buttoned and lipstick smeared on his collar. Damien's eyes widen in surprise before narrowing with contempt. Don't be so dramatic, Raven. It's not like you were ever enough for me anyway. His words cut deep, reopening wounds I thought had long since scarred over. I think back to when we first met, how his charm and promises of success had blinded me to the red flags. I was just a naive, struggling artist then, desperate for love and validation. I gave up everything for you, I choke out, my vision blurring with unshed tears. My art, my dreams, my self-respect, and for what? A loveless marriage and a lifetime of regret? Damien scoffs, his handsome face twisting into a sneer. You were always so pathetic, Raven, clinging to me like I was your last hope. Well, guess what? I never needed you. I only married you for your father's money and connections. The truth of his words hits me like a punch to the gut. I think of all the years I wasted trying to win his love and approval while he was busy building a life with someone else, someone younger, prettier, more talented. Who is she, Damien? The woman you were just fucking in the coat room? My voice is low and dangerous, barely recognizable to my own ears. He smirks, unashamed. Her name is Sasha. She's everything you're not, Raven. Young, passionate, with a real future in the art world, and she's pregnant with my child. I feel like I might be sick. The betrayal is too much, too raw. I think of my father, cold in his casket just feet away. He never approved of Damien, never thought he was good enough for me, and now with his last breath he was proven right. I want a divorce, I say firmly, my hands shaking as I reach for my phone. I'm done being your doormat, Damien. I'm done letting you destroy me. He laughs, cruel and mocking. You'll never be free of me, Raven. I own you body and soul. Without me, you're nothing. But as I press record on my phone, capturing his vicious words for all the world to hear, I feel a flicker of something long forgotten stir inside me. Something like hope, like defiance. You're wrong, Damien, I say calmly, my tears drying on my cheeks. I may have lost myself for a while, but I'm taking my life back, starting now. And with that, I turn and walk away, my head held high despite the curious stares and whispered gossip of the funeral guests. I don't know what the future holds, but one thing is certain. Raven Callaghan is done being shattered. It's time to pick up the pieces and create a new masterpiece from the ruins of my broken dreams. The sleek lines of Damien's penthouse mock me as I step inside, a cruel reminder of the gilded cage I now call home. The minimalist decor, once so chic and sophisticated, feels cold and sterile, like a museum display of my shattered dreams. Raven, darling, you're back, Damien calls from the living room, his voice dripping with false affection. How was the funeral? I clench my fists, the memory of his betrayal still fresh and stinging. Like you care, I mutter, kicking off my heels and padding into the room. He's sprawled on the leather sofa, a glass of scotch dangling from his fingertips. Of course I care, sweetheart. Alistair was like a father to me. I snort, the irony almost too much to bear. Really? Because last I checked, most people don't skip their father-in-law's funeral to screw their mistress in the coat room. Damien's eyes flash with annoyance, his mask of concern slipping. I thought we were past that little misunderstanding, Raven. I explained everything. Misunderstanding? I echo, my voice rising with incredulity. You called me pathetic, said you only married me for my father's money, and let's not forget the part where you got your barely legal side piece pregnant. He sets down his drink, his jaw clenching. Watch your tone, Raven. You're treading on thin ice. I laugh, the sound harsh and brittle. Or what, Damien? You'll leave me? Ruin my life? Newsflash, asshole, you already have. Just then, the front door slams, announcing the arrival of my least favorite person. Lilith, Damien's teenage daughter from his first marriage, saunters in, her heavily lined eyes narrowing as she spots me. Oh, look, the gold digger's back, she sneers, tossing her designer bag on the counter. Shouldn't you be out spending my inheritance on tacky art supplies? Yes, I bite back a retort, knowing it's useless to engage with her. Lilith has hated me from the moment I moved in, seeing me as a threat to her daddy's fortune and attention. Lilith, please, Damien chides, but there's no real rebuke in his tone. Raven is part of this family now. You need to show her some respect. Respect? Lilith scoffs, her heavily glossed lips curling in disdain. For what? Her amazing ability to spread her legs and trap men into marriage? The words hit me like a slap, the air rushing from my lungs. I turned to Damien, expecting him to defend me, to put his daughter in her place. But he just shrugs, reaching for his drink again. She's not wrong, Raven. You didn't exactly bring much to the table when we met. No money, no connections, just a pretty face and a decent pair of tits. I feel like I might be sick, the room spinning around me. Is this really what he thinks of me? Is this all I am to him, to everyone in this godforsaken family? I'm an artist, I whisper, my voice cracking. I have talent, I have dreams. Lilith rolls her eyes, her laughter cruel and mocking. Dreams? Wake up, Raven. You're nothing but a washed-up wannabe who got lucky, and now that Daddy's gone, your luck's about to run out. She flounces out of the room, her parting words hanging in the air like a noose. I turn to Damien, desperate for some shred of comfort, of reassurance, but he just shakes his head, his expression a mix of pity and contempt. She's right, you know. Without Alistair's money, we're screwed. The gallery's in the red, and your little art projects aren't exactly paying the bills. I feel like I'm suffocating, the walls of this beautiful, terrible apartment closing in on me. Is this really my life now? A loveless marriage, a resentful stepdaughter, a husband who sees me as nothing more than a meal ticket? I think back to the girl I used to be, the one who believed in love and art and the power of her own voice. She seems so far away now, a distant memory of a life I can never reclaim. But as I stand there, something inside me hardens, a small, fierce spark of defiance flickering to life. I may be trapped, I may be broken, but I'm not dead yet. And one way or another, I'm going to make them pay for what they've done to me. 5 years. That's how long it's been since I stood in front of the mirror, a shadow of the woman I used to be. My once vibrant eyes are dull, my skin pale and drawn. The paintbrushes that were once an extension of my soul now lie forgotten, gathering dust in the corner of my studio. I hear the front door slam, followed by the click of high heels on the marble floor. Lilith, now 21 and every bit as vicious as her father, enters the room, her lip curled in a sneer. Still moping around, I see, she taunts, her gaze sweeping over my paint-splattered sweatpants and messy bun. Don't you have anything better to do than wallow in self-pity? I don't bother to respond, knowing it will only fuel her cruelty. Lilith has made it her mission to torment me at every turn, blaming me for the family's financial struggles and her own miserable existence. You know, if you weren't such a useless leech, maybe Daddy wouldn't have to work so hard to keep us afloat, she continues, examining her perfectly manicured nails. But I guess that's what happens when you marry a talentless gold digger. I feel a flicker of anger, but it's quickly extinguished by the weight of my own despair. She's right, after all. What have I contributed to this family, to this life? Nothing but broken dreams and empty promises. The sound of the door opening again jolts me from my thoughts. Damien enters, his suit impeccable and his expression unreadable. He barely spares me a glance as he pours himself a drink, the amber liquid sloshing against the sides of the glass. Lilith, darling, I need to speak with Raven alone, he says, his tone calm but firm. Why don't you go shopping with your friends? Use the black card. Lilith's eyes light up, her earlier venom forgotten in the face of her father's generosity. She snatches the credit card from his outstretched hand and flounces out of the room, leaving me alone with the man I once thought I loved. Your father called, Damien says, taking a sip of his scotch. He wants to see you. I blink, surprised by the mention of Alistair. We haven't spoken in months, not since our last explosive argument about my life choices. What does he want? I ask, my voice hoarse from disuse. Damien shrugs, his gaze still fixed on the view outside the window. He didn't say, but he sounded different, like he was in pain. A flicker of hope ignites in my chest, a tiny ember in the ashes of my dreams. Could this be it? The chance I've been waiting for? The opportunity to escape this gilded hell and start anew. I'll go see him, I say, my resolve strengthening with each word. Maybe he's finally ready to listen, to understand. Damien scoffs, draining the last of his drink. Don't get your hopes up, Raven. Alistair Blackwood is a stubborn old bastard. He'll never change. But as I walk out of the penthouse, my head held high for the first time in years, I feel a sense of purpose, of determination. I may have lost myself along the way, but I'm not going to let them win. I'll see my father. hear what he has to say. And then, one way or another, I'll find a way to break free from this nightmare and reclaim the life I once had, even if it means burning everything to the ground and starting from scratch. The church is silent, save for the muffled sobs of the mourners and the soft rustling of tissues. I sit in the front pew, my eyes fixed on the polished wooden casket that holds my father's lifeless body. Alistair Blackwood, the man who was supposed to be my rock, my protector, is gone. I feel a hand on my shoulder and turn to see Damien, his face a mask of feigned sympathy. "I'm so sorry for your loss, darling," he murmurs, his voice like silk hiding a dagger. "Your father was a great man." I nod, too numb to speak. I think back to our last conversation, just days before his sudden death. He had hinted at a change in his will, a final act of love and redemption. But now I'll never know what he wanted to say, never have the chance to make things right between us. The service ends, and I stand on shaky legs, accepting condolences from strangers and distant relatives. Damien is nowhere to be seen, and a sinking feeling settles in my gut. I excuse myself and slip out of the church, my heels clicking on the stone steps. I hear voices coming from the coat room, and I freeze, my heart pounding in my chest. It's Damien, and he's not alone. I inch closer, my breath caught in my throat. "God, Sasha, you feel so good," he groans, and I hear the unmistakable sound of flesh on flesh. "I can't wait to leave that frigid bitch and start a new life with you." "What about the money?" a woman's voice asks, breathless and eager. "You said she was going to inherit everything." Damien laughs, the sound cruel and mocking. "Don't worry about that, baby. I have a plan. Once the will is read, I'll contest it, say that Raven manipulated the old man into cutting me out. She's got no proof, no witnesses. It'll be her word against mine." I feel like I might be sick, my stomach churning with rage and disgust. How could I have been so blind, so stupid? I trusted him, loved him, and all along he was plotting to use me and toss me aside. "And what about the kid?" Sasha asks, her voice tinged with worry. "You sure it's yours?" "Of course it's mine," Damien scoffs. "You think I'd let some other man touch what's mine?" "No, this is our ticket to the good life, Sasha, a new start, with Raven's money and my brains. We'll be unstoppable." I can't listen anymore, can't bear to hear another word of their sickening plan. I fumble for my phone, my hands shaking as I hit the record button. I need proof, need to expose Damien for the lying, cheating bastard he is. I step into the coat room, my head held high and my eyes blazing with fury. "Well, well, well," I say, my voice dripping with venom. "What do we have here?" Damien and Sasha spring apart, their faces flushed and their clothing disheveled. "Raven, I can explain," Damien stammers, his eyes wide with panic. "Oh, I think you've explained quite enough," I snarl, holding up my phone. "I heard everything, Damien, every disgusting, despicable word." Sasha blanches, her hand flying to her stomach. "You recorded us?" she whispers, her voice trembling. I nod, a cold smile spreading across my face. "Every single second. And now I'm going to make sure the whole world knows what a pathetic, conniving worm you really are, Damien Callaghan." I turn on my heel and storm out of the room, my heart pounding with a newfound sense of purpose. I may have lost my father, my marriage, and my self-respect, but I'll be damned if I let them take anything else from me. It's time to fight back, to take what's mine and burn the rest to the ground. And I won't stop until Damien and his little whore are nothing but ashes at my feet. The funeral guests stare at me in stunned silence as I march back into the church, my phone clutched in my hand like a smoking gun. Damien follows close behind, his face a mask of panic and fury. "Raven, please, let's talk about this in private," he hisses, reaching for my arm. I yank away from his grasp, my eyes blazing with a fire I thought had long since been extinguished. "Oh, we're going to talk, all right," I say, my voice ringing out clear and strong. "But not in private, not anymore." I turn to face the crowd, my heart pounding in my chest. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. My husband, Damien Callaghan, is a liar, a cheat, and a thief." Gasps and murmurs ripple through the room, and I see Lilith's face turn pale with shock. Good. Let her see her precious daddy for the snake he really is. "I have proof," I continue, holding up my phone. "Recorded evidence of Damien's infidelity and his plans to contest my father's will and steal my inheritance." Damien lunges for the phone, but I'm too quick for him. I hit play and his voice fills the church, every damning word echoing off the high ceilings. You bitch, he snarls when the recording ends, his face twisted with rage. You think you can destroy me? I made you, Raven. Without me, you're nothing. I laugh, the sound harsh and bitter. That's where you're wrong, Damien. I'm not nothing. I'm Raven fucking Blackwood, and I'm done being your doormat. I reach into my purse and pull out a thick envelope, tossing it at his feet. I've already spoken to my lawyer. My father changed his will before he died, leaving everything to me. And as for you, you're out on your ass, with nothing but the clothes on your back and the child support payments for your bastard kid. Damien's face drains of color, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. You can't do this, he whispers, his voice trembling. I'll fight it. I'll take you for everything you're worth. I smile, cold and cruel. You can try, but I have the law on my side and a team of the best lawyers money can buy. You're finished, Damien. And as for you, Lilith? I turn to face my stepdaughter, my eyes narrowing. Don't even think about coming to me for help. You're just as bad as your father, and I'm done enabling your toxic behavior. You want money, get a job. You want love, earn it. But don't expect anything from me, ever again. Lilith's face crumples, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, Raven, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it, any of it. I was just angry, jealous. Don't cut me off, I need you. I shake my head, my heart hardening to her crocodile tears. You need a reality check, Lilith, and I'm done being your punching bag. I have my own life to live, my own dreams to chase, and I won't let you or anyone else hold me back anymore. I turn to the stunned crowd, my head held high. Thank you all for coming to pay your respects to my father. But if you'll excuse me, I have a divorce to finalize and a new chapter to begin. I walk out of the church, my steps light and my heart soaring. For the first time in years, I feel alive, powerful, in control of my own destiny. Damien and Lilith can rot in the hell they've created for themselves. I have a legacy to claim and a life to rebuild, one brushstroke at a time, and nothing and no one is going to stand in my way. The gallery is buzzing with activity, the white walls lined with paintings that seem to vibrate with energy and emotion. I stand in the center of the room, a glass of champagne in my hand and a smile on my face. This is my moment, my triumph, and I'm going to savor every second of it. I see Damien across the room, his face haggard and his suit hanging off his frame. He looks like a man who's lost everything, and in a way, he has. I made sure of that. I saunter over to him, my heels clicking on the polished concrete floor. Damien, darling, so glad you could make it, I purr, my voice dripping with false sweetness. I know how busy you must be, what with the job hunt and all. He glares at me, his eyes bloodshot and his jaw clenched. You think you've won, don't you? He growls, his voice low and menacing. You think you can just destroy my life and walk away unscathed? I laugh, the sound bright and carefree. Oh, Damien, I don't think I've won. I know I have, and as for walking away unscathed, I'm not the one who's been blacklisted from every gallery in the city, am I? His face twists with rage, and for a moment I think he might actually hit me. But then a voice cuts through the tension, smooth and confident. Raven, darling, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. I turn to see Marcus, my new business partner and the owner of the most prestigious gallery in town. He's tall and handsome, with salt and pepper hair and a smile that could charm the pants off a nun. Marcus, so sorry to keep you waiting, I say, taking his arm and shooting Damien a triumphant look. I was just catching up with an old friend. Damien's eyes narrow, his fists clenching at his sides. Friend? Is that what you call the man who ruined your life? Marcus raises an eyebrow, his gaze flicking between us. Ruined her life? From where I'm standing, it looks like Raven's doing just fine. Better than fine, actually. Her show is a sensation, and the critics are calling her the next big thing in the art world. I smile, leaning into Marcus's side. What can I say? I had a lot of inspiration to draw from. Pain, betrayal, the depths of human cruelty. It's all there on the canvas for everyone to see. Damien scoffs, his face twitched with disgust. You're pathetic, Raven. Using our marriage, our private life, as fodder for your little art projects. Don't you have any shame? I step forward, my eyes blazing with fury. Shame? You want to talk about shame, Damien? How about the shame of being married to a man who cheated on me, lied to me, and tried to steal my inheritance? The shame of watching my stepdaughter spiral into addiction and despair because of your toxic influence? No, Damien, I have no shame. Not anymore. But you should be drowning in it. He opens his mouth to retort, but I cut him off with a wave of my hand. Save it. I'm done listening to your lies and excuses. I have a show to run and a life to live, and you have a one-way ticket to rock bottom. Enjoy the ride. I turn on my heel and walk away, Marcus at my side. I can feel Damien's eyes boring into my back, but I don't look back. I'm done looking back, done letting my past define me. I'm Raven Blackwood, artist, survivor, and queen of my own fucking destiny. And nothing, and no one, is going to stand in my way. As we mingle with the other guests, I catch sight of Lilith, her face gaunt and her eyes hollow. She's talking to a man in a cheap suit, and I can tell by the way she's fidgeting that she's jonesing for a fix. Part of me wants to go to her, to offer her help and support. But I know that's not what she needs. Not really. What she needs is to hit rock bottom, to face the consequences of her choices, and learn to stand on her own 2 feet. Just like I did. The applause is deafening as I take my final bow, the stage lights hot on my skin and the adrenaline pumping through my veins. I've done it. I've poured my heart and soul onto the canvas, and the world has embraced me with open arms. I step off the stage and into a sea of congratulations and well wishes, my cheeks aching from the constant smiling. But then I see a familiar figure pushing through the crowd, his face haggard and his eyes wild. Raven, please, I need to talk to you, Damien pleads, his voice hoarse and desperate. I've lost everything, my job, my home, my reputation. I have nothing left. I stare at him, my heart hardening to his pathetic display. And whose fault is that, Damien? You brought this on yourself, with your lies and your cheating and your greed. He shakes his head, tears streaming down his face. I know. I was wrong, so wrong. But please, Raven, I'm begging you. Forgive me, give me another chance. I'll do anything, be anything you want me to be. I laugh, the sound harsh and bitter. Anything I want you to be. I wanted you to be a faithful husband, a loving partner, a decent human being. But you couldn't even manage that, could you? He falls to his knees, his hands clasped in front of him like a penitent sinner. I'm sorry, Raven. I'm so sorry. I was weak, selfish, stupid, but I've changed, I swear. I'll prove it to you, every day for the rest of our lives. Just give me one more chance, please. I look down at him, this man who once held my heart in his hands and crushed it without a second thought. And I feel nothing. No love, no hate, no pity. Just a cold, empty void where my feelings for him used to be. Get up, Damien, I say, my voice flat and emotionless. You're making a scene. He staggers to his feet, his face a mask of desperation and hope. And does that mean? I shake my head, a small, cruel smile playing at the corners of my mouth. It means I'm done with you, Damien. Done with your lies, your manipulation, your endless cycle of betrayal and false remorse. I gave you chances, more than you ever deserved, and you threw them all away like the selfish, spineless worm you are. His face crumples, his shoulders sagging in defeat. Raven, please. I hold up a hand, cutting him off mid-sentence. No more, Damien. No more pleading. No more promises. No more second chances. You're dead to me, do you understand? Dead and buried, just like the love I once had for you. I turn to walk away, but he grabs my arm, his fingers digging into my skin. You can't do this, Raven. You need me, just like I need you. We're meant to be together, can't you see that? I yank my arm out of his grasp, my eyes flashing with fury. The only thing I see is a pathetic, delusional man who can't accept that his time is up. You had your chance, Damien. Multiple chances, and you blew them all. Now it's time to face the consequences of your actions. I walk away, my head held high and my heart light. I can hear him calling after me, his voice growing more and more desperate with each step I take. But I don't look back, don't falter in my stride. I'm done being a victim, done being a pawn in someone else's game. I'm the master of my own fate now, the captain of my own ship. And I'm sailing towards a future that's bright and bold and full of endless possibilities. As I step out into the cool night air, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. I've faced my demons, confronted my past, and emerged stronger and wiser for it. I'm ready for whatever comes next, whatever challenges and triumphs lie ahead. Because I know that no matter what, I'll face them head on, with courage and grace and an unshakable belief in myself. I am Raven Blackwood, and I am unstoppable. The The sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new penthouse, casting a warm glow over the sleek, modern furniture and the vibrant paintings that adorn the walls. I stand on the balcony, a cup of coffee in my hand, and gaze out at the city skyline, a sense of peace and contentment washing over me. It's been 6 months since I walked away from Damien and Lilith, 6 months since I took back control of my life and my destiny, and in that time, I've accomplished more than I ever thought possible. My art has taken the world by storm, with collectors and critics alike hailing me as a visionary, a force to be reckoned with. I've sold pieces to museums and galleries around the globe, and my bank account has never looked healthier. But it's not just about the money or the fame. It's about the sense of purpose, the feeling of fulfillment that comes from knowing I'm making a difference in the world. I've started a foundation using my wealth and influence to support young artists from disadvantaged backgrounds. I mentor them, guide them, help them navigate the treacherous waters of the art world. And every time I see one of them succeed, every time I watch them take the stage and bask in the applause, I feel a rush of pride and joy that's unlike anything I've ever experienced. But even as I revel in my newfound success, I can't help but feel a twinge of emptiness, a sense that something is missing. And I know exactly what, or rather who, it is. Lilith. I haven't spoken to her since that fateful night at the gallery, haven't seen her since she stumbled out of the building, high and desperate and lost. But I've kept tabs on her, watched from afar as she spiraled deeper and deeper into addiction and despair. Part of me wants to reach out, to offer her the same support and guidance I give to my young protégés. But another part of me, the part that still bears the scars of her cruelty and betrayal, hesitates. And then, one day, I receive a letter. It's from Lilith, written from a rehab facility in Arizona. She tells me she's sorry, that she's been working on herself, trying to make amends for all the pain she's caused. She asks for my forgiveness, my help in rebuilding her life. And as I read her words, I feel a stirring in my heart, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance for redemption. I write back, cautiously at first, then with growing warmth and affection. We exchange letters, then phone calls, then visits. And slowly but surely I watch as Lilith transforms before my eyes, shedding the layers of anger and bitterness and emerging as a new woman, strong and resilient and full of promise. Together we work to build a new life for her, one based on honesty and trust and mutual respect. I help her find a job, a place to live, a network of supportive friends and mentors. And as I watch her flourish, I feel a sense of pride and accomplishment that rivals even my greatest artistic triumphs. But even as Lilith and I mend our broken relationship, I know that there's one loose end left to tie up. One final piece of the puzzle that needs to fall into place. Damien. I've avoided him for months, refusing his calls and emails and desperate pleas for forgiveness. But I know that I can't run forever, can't hide from the truth of what he did and who he is, and so I agree to meet with him, one last time. We sit across from each other in a quiet coffee shop, two strangers who once shared a life and a love. He looks older, thinner, his eyes haunted by the weight of his mistakes. And as he speaks, as he pours out his heart and his soul, I feel a flicker of something that might be pity, might be understanding, but I also feel a sense of closure, a sense that this chapter of my life is finally coming to an end. And as I walk away from him, as I step out into the bright, bustling streets of the city, I know that I'm ready for whatever comes next. Because I am Raven Blackwood, artist, survivor, and master of my own destiny, and nothing and no one can ever take that away from me.